Last year, I made over $20,000 just betting on the NBA playoffs and finals. And I didn't do this by being some sort of time traveler or psychic or sports betting genius, right? They were all calculated risks, and I did this all by using AI. I asked ChatGPT what's the best way to, make money sports betting. This was around the end of the normal season last year. I just used AI, used artificial intelligence, and it gave me a very detailed and broken down strategy that I can use to make some money. And I ended up making over $20,000, so I'm here to share with you in this video, step by step, exactly what I did, what AI told me to do, and how I've been using it for God knows how long now to make just a ton of money sports betting, and how you can do it this NBA final season. So let's get into it. Alright, first, let's talk about strategy. This wasn't from, guessing who was going to win the NBA Finals or who was going to be who by how many points. This was all about researching and finding inconsistencies within the sports betting market. The sports betting market is super inconsistent. Unlike the stock market, right, where everything is pretty consistent, the sports betting market, each sportsbook sets their own odds by themselves, independently, right? So when you see on this channel a lot of people talking about inconsistencies within the market or how the sports betting market is super fragmented, literally all it means is that because these different companies, these different books set their own odds, sometimes they're going to be super out of sync with each other. So like a book could have, one odd at one price, and then another book could have that same line or an opposite line at a super out of sync price, just because, right, they're all setting, their own lines by themselves, and there's so much data coming into, these different books at the same time that sometimes a book might be slower to change it, or it might be, too fast in changing it and it'll leave these guys behind, and it creates inconsistencies, long story short. So the first strategy that ChatGPT actually told me to start doing was arbitrage sports betting. And what this has to do with, the sports betting market and the inconsistencies is basically we're betting on all possible outcomes of a single bet. So for example, if we have, someone's points, we're going to bet both the over and the under. But the thing is, we're not going to be doing this on the same sports book, but we're going to be doing this on two different books that have inconsistencies with each other. Right, so for example, if we took someone's over on FanDuel, we would take his under on a separate sportsbook, maybe it's Flip or BetMGM, right? So two different sportsbooks with different odds create risk-free opportunities. So what I mean by that is, since we're betting on the over and the under, one of them is bound to lose, one of them is bound to win. But because the odds are super out of sync with each other, it makes it so that no matter which side cashes the bet, no matter whether it goes over or under, we're still coming out with some type of profit no matter what. And that's exactly why arbitrage betting is super popular in the sports betting industry, and why a lot of these profitable sports bettors use this strategy as, one of their main sources of income, and how you see these people having all green months and all this stuff, it all comes from arbitrage. Now, because these inconsistencies move super fast, humans would take hours and hours to spot these differences in lines, right? Because you'd have to look through every single line in the sportsbook and then simultaneously look at that line on another sportsbook. That would take hours, right? That would just be super inefficient. You probably wouldn't even be able to find anything. But AI comes in play here, where, OddsJam is a data scraping artificial intelligence tool where they take all of the lines from all these hundreds of different sports books, right, and the millions of lines that they have. They scrape all of the data from it, and they have, this AI interface, or this user interface, where it just shows you all of the profitable opportunities, all of these sports books, with out of sync lines, and it makes everything super easy for you. So I signed up to OddsJam, made an account, I took the risk, bought a subscription, and it was actually the best decision ever, because ever since ChatGPT put me onto OddsJam, I still use them till this day, and now I'm posting videos for their channel. That's how much OddsJam has changed my life, because I've had such a passion for sports betting and data-driven sports betting. I've been using them for a long time. They're great. So their arbitrage tool literally does all of the work for you, and all you need to do is go to the sportsbook, make an account, and get the bets in. And you're coming out with 4 to 5% ROI on every single bet you take. A lot of people always say that you need a ton of capital to start arbitrage sports betting, just because the ROI is super small. But if you really think about it, 4 to 5% ROI that's compounded daily is going to pay you out a lot more than the S&P 500 will. So that's where a lot of people get that wrong. You don't really need too much capital to start, but any amount is really fine, because you are getting risk-free profits. And the second strategy that actually made me a ton of money, probably even more than arbitrage, is plus EV, right? OddsJam also has a positive EV tool where basically all we're doing is line shopping, right? We're looking at the inconsistencies. Again, we come out with the inefficiencies and inconsistencies in the sports betting market. That's what we're taking advantage of. That's how you're going to be a profitable sports bettor in the long run. So plus EV is basically just line shopping. shopping, right? We're comparing the rest of the market to a book that's giving us a better price or a better discount. So essentially, if FanDuel had the Sixers at -105, and then like 6 other sports books had the Sixers at like -160, we're gonna take it on FanDuel because we're getting a much better price. Now, in the long run, plus EV is going to make you a lot of money if you just trust the process. And what I like to say is that arbitrage is great to start off your bankroll and to grow it, and then plus EV exponentially, is a long-term game to make a lot more money. So arbitrage sports betting starts off your bankroll, and then plus EV grows it, because it's a variance-based style type of betting, meaning that you're gonna go on a lot of win streaks. We also need to have a strong mentality to stomach the loss streaks, right? Variance-based basically means that you're gonna look like this, your winnings and your losses. You're gonna go on a ton of win streaks, you're gonna go on a ton of loss streaks, but in the long run, right, your wins will always outweigh your losses if you're correctly taking positive EV stances. So OddsJam also has a positive EV tool where it literally scrapes all the data from these books and shows you all the positive EV stances that you can take. Now the thing with positive EV, right, because I said it's a variance-based style of betting, it requires you to have a lot of volume to eliminate all chances or all external factors of luck and all of these things, right? You probably learned this in statistics class, the law of large numbers. The more you increase the sample size, the more like the probability of like luck gets eliminated from the sample. So basically, I just want you to imagine it like you have a coin, and instead of having that 50-50 chance, it's rigged, and you have a 54-46 chance, or whatever the math is there. And in the long run, you may be able to flip, the coin a couple times and lose or win or whatever, but if you're flipping that coin 1,000 times, it's going to average out to your winnings being at 54% rather than the 46%. So when you apply this logic to sports betting and you're taking positive EV stances correctly, that's exactly how it's going to work out in the long run, because you're getting a lot of volume in. So it's a very trust the process heavy type of thing. I haven't used research or wasted my time doing any of these other methods by like looking at the last 5 or looking at head-to-heads and matchups. That's all a waste of time, because these sports books are all factoring everything that you can possibly look at into their lines and into their odds. So the only way to actually beat the sports books and play with an edge over them is to use strategies like arbitrage and positive EV. And between me and you, OddsJam is doing a 35% off sale right now, so all you have to do is click the link down below or use code JC35. It also comes with a free 7-day trial, so if you don't like it, cancel it. It's cool, no strings attached, you're not going to get charged. But I highly recommend you guys at least try it out, right? I'm just sharing this. I wanted to come on here and share this because this is exactly how I made all my profits during the NBA playoffs last year. And with the season coming to an end around pretty soon, and the NBA playoffs are coming up, I just want you guys to come on here and give it a try, So now that we went over the actual strategies, I kind of want to move over to more of the AI side of things and the other tools that I actually use, not really just AI. But right, like I said in the video, I've used OddsJam for the entire process. They are really the MVPs of all of my profits. I give, all the credit to them. Without them, none of this would be possible. But enough with the OddsJam glaze. I'm going to kind of move forward here. ChatGPT was a really big one. Without ChatGPT, I wouldn't have had any of this information. It also taught me a lot about the strategies itself, because I know it can be very confusing when you're first starting out to learn about all of these odds and all of these things. But if you have a question, that's why we're here to make these videos for you. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But you can also ask ChatGPT. They're very smart when it comes to, the intricate stuff and the stuff that nobody really wants to learn. So definitely take advantage of that. And also a big one is Google Sheets. A lot of people don't like to do this because it's very tedious, but keeping track of the units that you're betting and all of the money and the profits and the losses, it really adds up and just makes sure and gives you a little bit more financial security and keeps you very organized with how much you're winning and how much you're losing, right? Every single bet that I placed went into this tracker that I made. Bet type, odds, positive expected value. You need to track them to figure out what's working for you. And that brings me on to having multiple sports books, right? This is probably the biggest part. Without multiple sports books, none of this would be possible, right? If you're only using one, you're going to be stuck with parlays and trades for the rest of your life, and that's not very profitable. But when you are on multiple sports books, it gives you the opportunity to take advantage of a lot more inefficiencies and inconsistencies within the market, right? This whole video was about the market being inefficient and how we actually take advantage of it by using AI, right? OddsJam. So having access to more sports books allows us to create more opportunities for ourselves, especially with all of the promotions and all of the deposit matches that they offer. It'd be kind of stupid to not get on as many as you can. That's literally what I do. Is every time there's a sports book, I'm probably signed up to a lot more than you watching this video right now. Long story short, the more books, the more edges that you can find. So, everything you need to get started, I'm just gonna recap a quick checklist for you guys right here. Make it super simple. 1. Open multiple sportsbook accounts. Whatever you have in your region. If you're in the USA, the very 4 ones that I would use to get started are the regular domestic sportsbooks, right? DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, BetMGM. Those are great to start on. They give a ton of opportunities. FanDuel's limits aren't bad at all, so you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, the 4 domestic ones are a great starting point. Number 2 is use the link down below to sign up for OddsJam. Use my code JC35. It makes everything a lot cheaper because I know signing up for a software and having to pay for it can be, kind of scary and you almost don't want to pay for it, but think of it as an investment to your sports betting success. And number 3, you want to learn bankroll management. I didn't cover that topic in today's video, but you can definitely go and check out some of the other stuff I have on bankroll management. Super simple. Long story short, always be consistent with the amount that you're betting, right? You never want to chase your losses and bet more just because, you want to make your money back. You always want to stay calm and always stick to your units. Have a good bankroll management system. Number 4, track everything. ROI, winners, losers, everything. You always need to make sure that you have a clear description of what's working for you, what's not working for you, so you can always adjust. This isn't about winning your parlays. It's always about finding an edge for yourself, whether that's beating the sports books, whether that's tracking your bets and finding out what's working and adjusting, whether that's being consistent with your bankroll. You always just want to find what's working for you and just create the best edge possible for yourself. And with that being said, that's going to wrap up today's video. And in the next following weeks with the playoffs approaching, I highly recommend you guys try out these strategies because it worked for me in the past, so it will work for you guys as well. You just got to give it a try. Leave a like if you learned something, subscribe for more educational sports betting content like this, and leave a comment if you want me to start trying other sports betting tactics. I love making educational sports betting content for you guys, helping you guys make money, so turn your notification bells on, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.